Artist, activist, and author J.L. Salazar has been quite open about her struggle with mental illness. From documentary shorts to songwriting, she shares glimpses of PTSD, depression, and anxiety, hoping to advocate for others who walk alongside her on this journey and suffer in silence. She uses her art to channel the helplessness, hoping that in its sharing, others can find sisters along their way, their path, and maybe not have to travel it alone. Here are pieces of an earlier interview with JL. You've been open in both your work and in interviews about your struggles with PTSD. Can you share a bit about what that's like for you personally?
Absolutely. This is a typical run-of-the-mill doctor appointment for me. You know, they never can tell it's a panic attack. There's like this preconceived idea that it's all shaking and crying and hysterics, even though they're the experts and you would expect them to be able to tell, but they don't have a fucking clue. You would think they would be able to see, you know? But they can't, don't, won't, I don't know. They're just fucking clueless. And I should be able to say the words, you know, just look at them and say, "Hey doc, I'm literally in a panic right now." I mean, don't they teach them to read nonverbals or physical signs or something? So I just sit there time after time while they say, "Well, that blood pressure sure is high. We need to keep an eye on that." So dismissive that it's like, I swear there's a thigh slapping moment. And I want to scream. I just want to fucking scream. But all I can do is sit there. Sit there with my heart racing and my breathing coming like someone knifed me in the chest. And I just sit there, crying and screaming and panicking, locked behind so many doors, deafening in its silence. So yeah, every time. Routine visit, running tests, getting labs drawn, waiting for results, every damn time.
While we were chatting before the interview, you mentioned you have a new song you're working on. Could you play a little of that for us?
Sure, it's still a little rough around the edges, but sure, I can do that. Face down on the floor from hitting the wall. 90 miles an hour, hour after hour after hour. Fatigue, it keeps lingering from the weight of 1,000 souls, spilling their blood all over me. Their tears, their joys and fears, they soak into my skin, crowd into my heart, flooding my empathy and robbing me of my strength. I stand without armor, stagger beneath their weight. Breath comes ragged as I crash into the wall and fall, face down on the floor from hitting the wall. 90 miles an hour, hour after hour after hour. There you go.
Thanks for sharing. Can't wait to hear the final product. Now, this next piece is a documentary short, correct?
Yeah, that's right. The pandemic was hard for all of us. I channeled a lot of that restless energy into the only creative outlet that was available at the time, creating in digital media.
The smell of latex makes me want to throw up. I have an appointment with the doctor, 8:45. Take a seat. Call you when it's time. As she takes her seat, she attempts to slow her heart and breathing, with her mind dictating both. As they begin to slow, her name is announced. On the short walk to the office, her moment's reprieve was lost. Her mind is in control, both heart and breath, if she is not in control of her mind, let alone the other two. Her bodily movements have slowed, while the other pieces of her race out of control, leaving her in a fog. She sits in his office, awaiting his presence, awaiting his assessments and pronouncements. She hears the knock on the door. tasting lead and temples throbbing. The doctor walks in, does his cursory exam, and like that, it's over. Never like that. It's always like this. Always everything pounding and adrenaline taking over. Her body is feeling the fatigue of 30 minutes, which always feel like an eternity. She collapses with exhaustion into the passenger seat and closes her eyes.
That segment was an autobiographical short by J.L. Salazar called Panic at the Doctor. In just a moment, J.L. will be joining us live via Zoom to update us on her latest projects. Excuse me, 1 second please. This virtual presentation has had a change of venue. JL will be joining us from an undisclosed location.
It's always like that. Every time. Every damn time. I make it to the car, I close my eyes, and my breathing and my heart rate begin to slow. And life begins its return to something next to normal. Not this time. This time, my blood pressure kept rising, my heart rate wouldn't slow, and I started to hyperventilate. So I had to wait. I had to wait in the office until it slowed down, until it all slowed down, but it wouldn't. It just wouldn't. And I started to feel trapped, so I started to pace around the office, and which obviously did nothing to slow my heart rate. So when the door opened, I just rushed at it to get out, because if I could just get out of the fucking office and reach the car, it would be okay. Because it's always like that. I get to the car and I'm safe. But they wouldn't let me leave, and they say when the door opened, I punched the nurse. But I don't remember that, you understand? I don't remember that. I remember the nurse came in at least 3 times to check my blood pressure, and one of the times they made me get undressed and hooked me up to some machine to check my heart, and they left me there. They just left me there. And it was cold, and because it never looks like I'm in a panic attack, they never believe me, so I just lay there naked with wires hooked up everywhere. And they ran their stupid test, and they told me nothing. Just came back in and told me I could get dressed again. No explanation, no diagnosis, no nothing. And so by the time they came in the 3rd time, I don't remember, okay? The last thing I remember is that I told them I had this presentation coming up and that it was important, and the door opened, and the rest is just gone, And now here I am, and they're letting me do this, but they wouldn't even let me unlock my computer. I had to give the nurse the password. There's 2 nurses in here now, watching everything. So I ask you, how do I sit here and discuss a project about mental health? How do I talk about how you navigate the mental health system in a way that they understand that you feel crazy? Like you need some meds and some help crazy? But not like crazy where they lock you up in a room and won't let you unlock your computer crazy. How do I do that? Wait, I'm out of time? But I didn't even get to talk about my project. Please. I just want to go home.